All right. Good afternoon. How's everyone doing? We're so happy to see you again. My name is Moez Limayem. I'm the very proud Lynn Pippinger Dean of the best College of Business, the Muma College of Business at the University of South Florida. So, welcome to the now the very fourth, I think, conversation with CEO, virtual conversation with CEO, and let's hope this will be the last virtual one, and we will see you face to face in 3D soon. So please remember before we start, tweet all your questions to USF CEO Convo. Let me tell you, today we're in for a great treat. We have an amazing leader with us today with very vast experiences in all aspects of business. One of our very, very own, Muma alum. He is the Mr. Richard Kopelman, the CEO and managing partner of Aprio. This is a nationally recognized CPA-led business advisory firm, headquarters in Atlanta, and also one of the largest 50. And let me tell you, Richard is your dream executive, dream alum. He is smart, competent, visionary, but also very, very humble, and took a small regional companies through different mergers and transformations and rebranding to make it one true giant, one of the best in the business. Today, he's going to be with us to talk about life in general, lessons learned, challenges. And let me tell you, he is not shy to talk about everything. I want to just start by telling you a little bit of a story. Richard started business and entrepreneurial spirit at a very young age, 13. And guess what he was doing at the age of 13? You will never think what he was doing. He was helping his mothers making cold calls to sell prepaid funeral. Yes. And he was very successful at it. So if you can do that at the age of 13, you can do anything you want. Richard, welcome. And thank you so much for being with us today. What a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Moez, for having me. And that's a great introduction. I'll have to bottle that up for some other people.
Oh, no problem, and I won't even charge you for it, Richard. But no seriousness. Thank you for being with us, and also really we do these conversations with the CEO because we believe through these conversations we can help our students, alums, faculty, staff, and more importantly, friends of USF, friends for the college who are listening to us today. So, Richard, let's start with the beginning here. How it all started. Tell us, growing up, where did you grow up, and who are the people who influenced you so you are what you are today, Richard?
Yeah, so thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here, and really
Thank
it's a
you.
pleasure to give back. USF has a special place in my heart, and set me up for a great, set me up very well to start my career. So I grew up mostly in South Florida, with a couple of years in Atlanta. My parents got divorced when I was very young, and my dad moved to Atlanta, and so that's kind of how I ended up shuttling back and forth, and why I ultimately ended up in the Atlanta area after school. And as you said, my mom was a great influence on me. She was a hardworking, single mom. She's still alive and living in South Florida. And maybe you guys can help me convince her to get her COVID shot. She won't get her. Some reason she's staying away from that.
I will call her after this event.
You're on.
Richard.
So she was a great influence, and then her brother, my uncle, who was a World War II vet, and he liberated concentration camps in Germany and Poland during the war. Fought on the front lines. He was a mechanic, and he went into the sweater manufacturing business, and he couldn't find anybody to repair the machines he bought from Germany.
Wow.
And he went back there after the war and brought all these machines back. And So he, people are always surprised that I can actually do things around the house, and he's the reason why. So two big influences in my life and in my family growing up, and of course my wife of 26 years is a great influence, as well as my kids on me today.
You're you're a great son and great husband. I'm glad you mentioned your wife at the end. We don't
Well,
want you to be sleeping on the couch in your.
you, you need to tell her the great husband
Yes,
part. That's good.
I will absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, Richard. So let's fast forward a little bit. One thing is on all our minds and still and really completely changed our lives for the last, 14, 15, 16 months now. Came to us really by surprise all of us, this pandemic. Um, how did you deal with it in your business? What kind of lessons you learned there, and how did you proceed? Because you told me that you've done really well during this period, so I would love to hear how did that happen, and what did you do?
Yeah, surprisingly, it's not been bad for us. Planning, right, is very important. You guys know that running a
Absolutely.
university and as many things as you have, many challenges as you know about, and ones you don't know that are coming. And luckily, and as my CTO, my CIO says, it wasn't luck. It was a lot of hard work and planning. We had developed a technology infrastructure and a part of our long-term strategy is to be a work anytime, anywhere business. And as you can see, I'm not in my office right now. I'm actually in a house in Florida on vacation, as I mentioned, part vacation, part work. And so luckily, we were able to really flip the switch in the middle of March to send everybody home. We tested our systems; they worked great. And I did a video out to the organization and said, "Hey, it's all working. If you're more comfortable working from home, work from home." And I think about 95% of the people work from home starting that next day.
Interesting.
And and so that was a big part of it, was just planning. We had really planned to meet the challenges and the needs of our clients and our people in the future, and the future just accelerated itself. And so that's a big part of sort of what happened. And then things got crazy, of
Yeah.
course. And we had clients who do business with some very large companies, large retailers, big box retailers, and others. And all of a sudden, their orders started getting canceled, and our medical clients were shut down, and elective
Yeah.
surgeries were canceled, and dental practices were closed, and professional services and banks, and things just started to come to a grinding halt. And that really sort of freaked us out. And so
Yeah.
we made some other immediate changes, and we started holding leadership huddles every morning for 15, 20 minutes. And we set up a team within our firm and moved business all over the organization in order to create a team just to deal with government programs
Wow.
like the
That's
PPP loan
yeah.
and the employee retention credits. And we ended up partnering with a big bank in the United States, and between their clients and our clients, we touched tens of thousands of business owners and executives around the country, and helped them through this time period.
How did you continuously? Because one of the things that really impressed me when we talked, Richard, is the extent to which you kept in touch with your employees. You're in 50 states now, everywhere. How did you communicate with the employees of Aprio?
So we instituted weekly, and now we're doing a monthly, and that's one of the things we're going to keep post-COVID, town halls to keep people informed about what was going on. And we have 86, so total staff today is 725, and 86 partners. And I was picking up the phone every month at a minimum. If I had not talked to a partner, I was calling them up just to check on them. And I was asking them to make sure they were doing the same with their folks on not on a monthly basis, on a at least once a week. Make sure they were talking to every single person they worked with. That was a key part of the people strategy, was making sure we were doing that. And then we started doing other things like sending gift boxes to people's homes with snacks and Uber Eats cards and all sorts of things just to have people feel comfortable. And we also hired. We already had one that was working with us. Now we have two mental health coaches, if you would, or just coaches that our people can sign up for. They're available 2 days a week. One person each, 1 day a week, so 2 days a week they're available, and people can set up, and it's to do whatever they might, just to talk to them about whatever might be on their minds that they don't feel like they can talk to a coworker about or a family member. And we offered tutoring. We bought 1,000 hours of tutoring for our people's for our team's children to help them, because mom and dad can't always be the tutor.
Yeah. They are usually the worst tutors.
I was definitely the worst tutor for my kids, so
Yeah.
no question about it.
No, but this is really fascinating, Richard. In just answering my question, you almost this is a great lecture on how to communicate and keep your employees motivated during times like this. I really like the mental health aspect of it. The continuous communication using different means. And that's a great lessons learned. The only thing is you're causing me some problems here because I've started receiving some chats from my team saying, where are the tutors for my kids, and where are my snacks and my gift box? So you see, Richard, now, but this is great. This is really good, Richard.
You have the tutoring built in. You have the professors.
That's true. Yes, exactly. We can tutor each other's children, so I think that's a great. So you mentioned that you will keep the town halls even after the pandemic, and luckily, as we're all getting vaccinated, hopefully your mom is listening to us now and will get vaccinated also. We're starting at USF, and many organizations we're familiar with, talking about the future of work post-pandemic. So, how do we do that? What are some of the practices and that you will keep post-pandemics? And also, how do you see the future of work going forward at Aprio, but in general? I know it's really something that I'm thinking a lot recently, and would love to pick on your brain, because I'm sure all our listeners now are thinking is like, okay, what will happen? I tell you that a lot of employees in different organizations, they got used to the comfort of working from home, not having to worry about wearing pants and commuting and doing different things. So tell us, how do you see that, Richard?
Well, I won't ask you to stand up, by the way.
Okay, no, please don't.
Listen, I probably have more questions than I have answers myself about what does the future of work look like, and I'm reading every day about what others are doing and thinking, and some of the data coming out. There were a number of articles this morning on LinkedIn, as a matter of fact, and in the Wall Street Journal about this very topic. And it's funny because we are our lease is up. Our major lease, our headquarter lease in Atlanta, is up in a year. Actually, a year ago, a year from 3 days ago. And we're in the midst of figuring out, so where are we going? What does it look like? How many square feet do we need?
Yeah.
What does the environment look like? And in fact, I'll encourage anybody, if you're interested, we participate in the Vault survey every year for accounting firms, and happy to say in I think 15 categories we're in the top 10, and health is one of them. And not just physical and mental health, as I was talking about earlier. Yeah. And so creating that healthy environment and having the ability to work both inside and outside, and having fitness facilities on site, and healthy food options, and all of those things are important as we're thinking about what does it look like, and creating an environment, because CPA firms are organizations that are apprenticeship models.
Yeah.
You learn through a lot of shoulder surfing, as one of my partners likes to say. You got to
Yeah.
be looking over someone's shoulder, or at least have a spreadsheet up on the screen and working through examples, as well as communicating with clients and coworkers and teams of getting projects completed. And so these are all things that we're focused on. I'll tell you what we're doing for whatever it's worth.
Would love to hear it.
Our approach right now is around, we're going to reduce our office space, the total space, in half. We're going to create an environment where the clients don't have to go into our main space, and we're actually going to have a first floor entrance where we can sort of contain probably 50% of the people that come to visit us without having to actually go into the main building. They can just come in through an exterior entrance and be self-contained for if that's important to people as time goes on, and more of a neighborhood concept in terms of how the office space will be laid out. And we're going to be a flexible both time and physical presence environment where people will probably only come to the office 2 or 3 days a week if that's what they want to do. And some may want to be there full time because they need to get out of the house. Personally, I struggled after 9 months with separating work from personal at home, more so than I did when I went to the office. So I started going back to the office 4 or 5 months ago. And I go in when I'm in Atlanta. I'm there 3 to 4 days a week, at usually 4, I would say. And that's helping me create a better buffer between the personal life and work.
That's really fascinating, Richard, and you can tell this is something that I've been also thinking a lot about. If we push this a little bit for flexibility, how do you reconcile that flexibility and people working from home, and also that esprit de corps, that togetherness, that strong culture, that need for the water cooler discussions and. That's what I'm struggling with, Richard. So I don't know what are your thoughts.
We had a conversation about that on our on our Thursday leadership call. We have a Monday and Thursday call with the whole leadership team, and that was a hot topic, right? How do we create that water cooler conversation, the innovation, the creativity, the ideation, not just for the business, how we operate for our clients, right?
Absolutely.
Clients never fired you for bringing them a new idea.
Yeah.
And so we're big on bringing ideas to our clients and sharing those. We're starting with teams inviting their like I did this morning. To the executive team, hey, let's pick 2 days a week where we're in the office, and we don't have to be there 8 to 5 or 9 to whatever. We could be there. Some people could come in early, late, whatever, like we were doing before. But at least there's some core hours, 4 or 5 hours where we're all there.
I like that.
During the day. Maybe that's 10 to 3. And we're able to walk into somebody's office and have a quick conversation. Every conversation doesn't need to be on Zoom.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, where most people went. And being able to do a quick phone call or a FaceTime or something other than being on Zoom is going to be helpful.
I totally agree. We started, I sometimes go to the office or certain events and talk to people. And let me tell you, Richard, it's so nice to talk to people and no one tells me that I was on mute. I was like, whoa, this is a new concept. So I see the need for the face-to-face interactions. Let's see, Laurie and Ashley, do we have some questions? Let's take question from the audience through Twitter, if you don't mind, Richard.
My pleasure. Let's do it.
Thank you. All right. Speaking of innovation, how did the pandemic transform the way you work with your clients? Based on your experience, what do you think this means for the future of other CPA-led business advisory firms? I like that.
Yeah, great question. Well, certainly we went to clients less often, and they came to see us less often, and they became better users of technology that we had already adopted and implemented. And as a result of that, we're actually implementing even better technology. and better advances so that the flow of information is more streamlined, it's faster, the throughput of the work is faster. I also think it's going to change the demands clients have. I think they're seeing other technology innovations in retail, in other service areas like medical, and they're going to be demanding that. I always look at the Domino's app where it shows you where your pizza is along the
Yes,
way,
yes.
and I could see them wanting that from us for their tax returns.
Oh,
Just as an
I like
example,
that. That's
where
great.
I don't have to call to find out when my taxes are going to be delivered. I can see on the app when it's going to happen. So
That's for I think Domino's or Pizza Hut. They have, you can even select the song that the pizza makers, the cook, can listen to. So maybe you can think of, yes, I want my the person preparing my taxes to listen to this very happy song. Maybe I will get a healthier return there. But
that
this
would
is
be interesting. I wonder what people would choose to
yeah.
have played while their taxes are being prepared. That would be that would be interesting.
So, if you look at the industry, Richard, your industry, CPA led firms, there are many of them in every state, right? And for
45,000 CPA firms in the United States today.
wow, wow, wow. So that one might say that it is a crowded space. So how do you work really hard and successfully, obviously, to differentiate Aprio from all the 44,999 other CPA-led business firms?
So it's a great question, and it's an ever-changing environment. The CPA profession is just ever-changing, and we've added uh, 9 offices, as you said. We went from one office in Atlanta 4 years ago to now 10 offices across the,
Wow.
really up and down the Eastern Seaboard, from Sarasota to New York, and continue to add. And we've added, I think, around 10 services in the last 4 years as well into the portfolio of what we offer. And we're differentiating ourselves rather than at the global level. We're really focused at the segment level. The segment either being a service line that has a discrete market, or a segment from an industry standpoint. So dental, for example. And we're very focused within those segments of differentiating ourselves as something where we're number one. That might be number of clients, that might be volume of X, some differentiator that we can identify. For example, affordable housing tax credits in the
Oh,
state of
yeah.
Georgia, our clients received 80% of the awards last year of tax credits in the state of Georgia. So those are the things that we're highlighting and focusing on at the segment level to differentiate ourselves.
I like that. So thinking of products and services that are unique to your company and to your clients. I like that. That's one of the most effective ways actually to differentiate a great company like yours.
It's all because
Um,
of what I learned at USF.
I like that. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yes. I'm so happy we're recording this. So we'll take this. But Richard, you really took the company through different reorganizations, mergers, from very small regional to one of the largest, most successful CPA-led advisory businesses, if you want. Can you tell us a little bit, just walk us through that process, and how did you do that? I know it's probably, we need a book. You need to write a book that we make it a mandatory reading for our students. But walk us through that process from really growing and scaling up, and then being where you are now from a much smaller regional business.
Um, I'm going to see if I can condense it. So you
I
may have to
know,
just
I know. It's
break.
not a fair
You know,
question.
don't let me go too long. You can
No, no,
break it
no,
up
no.
along
It's
the way.
great. Yes.
So I think it's good to know that next year will be our 70th anniversary of the business. So the business has been around for a long time, and started by 3 entrepreneurs in Atlanta. I joined 29 years ago, and 8.5 years ago became the CEO of the firm. At the time, we were 50 million in revenue roughly, and we'll finish this year north of 165, 170, something like that. And based on some merger and acquisition activity we have in the pipeline and organic growth, maybe we'll actually get to 200 if everything goes right by the end of the year on an aggregate basis. So we will have only spent 4 years in the between 100 million and 200 million of revenue, which is a pretty fast jump, especially as you're scaling a professional services firm. And we have gone through a number of reorganizations from being generalist to specialist and organizing by niche to organizing by service line and niche, and moving from a more of a hierarchy organization to that of a matrixed organization in terms of how we run it. And we're constantly changing and fixing things. And as a friend of mine likes to say, if you're growing a professional services firm fast and you're scaling a people business and you're not always finding things that are broken, you're not looking hard enough.
I like that.
And so there's always things that are broken that we're focused on and working through. And it's a whole new set of challenges every single day.
I just selected the title of your book, Richard, from 100 million to 200 millions in 4 years. The Richard Kopelman story. Wow. And the proceedings of the book will go to the Muma casual business.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. All right. So Richard, the name of the company, Aprio, very intriguing name. Every executive, every businessman and woman, every entrepreneur always struggle with that branding exercise. Something in name, tagline that people will remember, that is meaningful. Tell us a little bit about your branding. I know it's really an interesting story. So go for it, Richard.
So for 65 years, we were known as Habif, Arrighetti, and Wynn, or HAW. And it was hard to pronounce and hard to spell. And we embarked on an exercise to, what do we want to look like and feel like in 10 years? And we brought in a branding consultant, actually our chief growth officer, Danielle Berg, brought in somebody from the outside. We went through a fairly long process of interviewing internal and external, people, clients, vendors, our team, to stakeholders to, figure out like, what do we want to, what are we all about? And they kept coming back with, we bring our technical expertise to the table to solve problems and create wealth for our clients. And on the other side, we also care about them, and we're at their family functions and events, and we're, an extended part of the family. And that's where the name comes from. So Cap and Aria, Cap Latin for head, and Aria, Italian song of the hearts. And we dropped some letters and changed some things around, and we ended up with Aprio. And we're the only CPA firm in the top 100 with a name that is not, we're not named after a founder or partners. And we're the only firm with a manufactured name in the top 100 today.
That's really good. And I think it happened to be your middle name.
Well, it became my middle. It became my middle name because you never know what you don't know.
Yes.
And we did a deal where we merged in a firm by the name of LBA Haynes Strand in North Carolina, and we went to apply or move our license from out of state to in state, and we found out at that time that North Carolina requires the CPA firm to be named after partners or initials after partners. And so I was faced with a really big problem. We owned the business and we couldn't operate it, which was a little bit of a problem. And we couldn't be properly licensed. So I flew back to Atlanta, and we filed the paperwork. And in Georgia, it only takes 4 weeks. So my legal name became Richard Barry Aprio Kopelman at the end of 4 weeks, and then we got our license in North Carolina.
This is amazing, Krishna. I think you're the only entrepreneur executives that changed his or her middle name to fit the company. So that's yet another distinctions.
I'm all in on the brand.
I agree. Let's see if we have another good question from the audience. All right. See, wow, we're ready. All right. Uh, in the USF Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Certificate lectures, we learned the importance of engaging the community. What challenges did you face in this area, and how do you see community involvement being transformed? I think that's a great question. How do you what do you do with your community there?
Yeah,
That's a great question.
so look, the communities that we operate in have been extremely good to us. As I said, been in business for 70 years. And I'm a big believer in repairing the world, giving back to community, and leaving the world better than I found it.
Great.
And so we have a director of community involvement, uh, Michelle. She came from a large, very very large private company in Atlanta, and she has placed over 50 people around the company on community boards in the last 18 months, all across our entire footprint. We also formed a foundation, the Aprio Foundation, that raises money both from our owners, from the business, and from our team across the whole company. Over $200,000 with. Let's see, that foundation's been around for 5 years. I think we've given away about $400,000, 400,000 or 500,000 over the time period that it's been around, and it's completely led by non-owners of the business. So we have 47 owners today of the firm, and it's, I think there's one partner that sits on the board of the foundation as more of an observer, and it is led by the employees of the company, and they choose where the money's going and how we're impacting the community. And then we also have several days of giving back where we shut down and we go on site to various organizations around our offices, or even we have now 100 people living where we don't have offices, and so
Yeah.
they're participating in their own communities, and that's just a big part of who we are.
That's great, Richard. That's really inspiring. And throughout, when we started talking almost half an hour ago, one thing you kept repeating is the team. You know, the leadership team, the employee, the team aspect of the business is really important. And as we always say, any leader is as good as his or her team. So tell me a little bit when you have a chance to recruit members to your team, either the leadership or even middle management. What are the things that you look for? And this is so important for all our wonderful listeners here to aspire to be a leader like Richard today.
Yeah. So what are we looking for when we're bringing on folks? So one, I think I'll say that we have a lot of people involved in the interview process, and in fact, I'll credit my leadership team. We've had some disagreements along the way when we've been scaling up our leadership team, and I've always deferred to their judgment on those key hires, and they've been right every time. So I've learned to go with their gut check, or at least the ones that they've chosen have worked out. Right? Maybe the other one would have worked out too, but I defer to the majority, if you would, on those selections. We also have an industrial psychologist that we engage. We affectionately call him Dr. Bob, and he was named by one of our merger partners that joined us a few years ago. So he's very involved in the process. We look for critical thinking is very important. Reasoning is very important. I'm a big believer that people get hired for what they know and fired for who they are. So we're
I
very
like that.
focused. We're
So
very
say it
focused.
again. I think this is really people. I
People get
like this.
hired for what they know and
Yes,
fired for who they are.
I like that. Wow.
And we're believers that we can teach the people what they need to know. We need to have people on board that care, that
Yeah.
want to be successful, that want to create and execute on the vision that we have for the business as a team, and follow our strategy. And that's a big part of what we're doing every day, is just looking for those really engaged people. And someone said to me the other day, actually, someone I was interviewing said that the business they work for has sort of lost their way.
Yeah.
And I was really curious about what that was, what he meant. And so I said, can you please, unpack that a little bit for us? What does that mean, that they've lost their way? And he was just describing a business that lost focus on what they were in business to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
and who they were there to serve.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, we see that very often in organizations, especially when they start scaling up. They lose the essence of who they are, and their raison d'etre. I think that's really good. In the previous Twitter question, Richard, there was a mention of the diversity, equity, and inclusion certificate that we offered in partnership with Tampa Bay Lightning and also our good friends at Jaybon. We had more than 135,000 participants from all over the country and the world. It's really incredible. We have more than almost 63,000 people who finished all quizzes to earn the certificate. We're just very proud. But also this shows that the hunger people have to really learn more about how to be more inclusive, more equitable in their thinking, in their organizations, because the focus was in the organization. So tell me, what are your thoughts about having a diverse workforce at Aprio that really reflects the customer base and clients base that you're trying to serve?
So I'll start off with just a couple of factoids, perhaps. One is that about 20% of our people are foreign born and speak over 30 languages on staff at the firm. So we have, and that was purposely created because of the international focus that we have from a business standpoint. We represent a tremendous number of U.S. subsidiaries that are headquartered mainly in Europe. I like to say the beer and wine drinking countries of Europe, although we have a number of Russian businesses as well, because the head of our international tax practice, she's a native of St. Petersburg, Russia, not St. Petersburg, Florida. Okay. She likes to say the original St. Petersburg.
Yes.
And so that's, and also out of Asia. So we have, and then we also have a lot of companies that are U.S. headquartered that are doing business abroad, and we have clients operating in as many as 50 countries, U.S. companies operating in 50 countries. So for us, international has been a big part of the growth that we've experienced, especially in manufacturing and in our technology practices. Those are two areas that have really driven that. So for us, it's just been the fabric of how we've operated. I mentioned the Vault survey earlier, and we ranked very, very high in diversity. With that said, we can always do better. So we went through the process of having a DE&I audit done by actually a lady who used to be head of HR at our firm that went and got her PhD and is now in the consulting world. And so she's, Crystal, is helping us through the whole process of we went through the audit. Now we've got a work plan that's going to stretch the next 3 years of changes we're implementing in order to continue to focus on inclusion, make sure people are feeling feeling included around the organization at the highest levels, and also continue to drive diversity. Atlanta's a very diverse city where our headquarters is, so that's a big focus for us here. And we have our DE&I committee. It's been around for 5 years. So this wasn't new to us. These were not things we started implementing, during COVID, although we did strengthen the focus on it. And then we put our money where our mouth is. And so a friend of mine and a client of ours, a gentleman by the name of John Hope Bryant, who operates a business called Operation Hope. And John's written several books on focused around diversity and inclusion from an economic perspective of the American society. And they started a program this year called 1MBB, 1 Million Black Businesses, Black-owned businesses, with the focus over the next 10 years of starting and building 1 million businesses in the Black community across the United States. And so we were the first accounting firm to sign on, and we're doing education and training and providing services to their cohorts.
That's really great, Richard. In our DEI in the workplace certificate, we had one module on understanding your organizations, and we really prone and call for this DEI audit, so you know where you are, you know what you're doing when, and you know where are some of the challenges. So this is great. This is wonderful, and thank you for also signing up to this initiative for million Black-owned businesses. I think that's great. We need that. We all need a community and a country where everyone has a chance to success, regardless of the color of their skin, sexual orientation, age, gender, disability status, or any other characteristics. So thank you. Really proud of you.
It's a pleasure. I would encourage anybody who's listening to look to Google that 1MBB and Operation Hope. It's a really very cool program, and it's going to take literally thousands of businesses across the country to come together to help make that a reality. So anybody that can participate, they can reach out to me. I can introduce them to John, and we can build this together.
Thank you. Let's go to Twitter and see what do we have there, Ashley and Lori. Oh, wow. As you see, our audience there are very direct. Yes. How do you are distinguished? Yes, you distinguish yourself by coming to USF. That's one of the easy.
Right. That was the first one.
But that's a good question, Richard. How would you answer it?
Wow, that's a really great question. I don't know that I have an answer for how I distinguish myself. I think that reputation is a series of stories that people tell about you and your actions, right? So I'm really purposeful about the actions and the things that I'm involved with, and I guess I'm distinguished by I'm the only CEO that I know of that changed their name, that added a middle name to be named after their company. So I guess that's one way I distinguish myself.
That's a great distinction, Richard. But for all our viewers, Richard is really modest. He distinguished himself, if I may. I use my executive privilege as a dean to answer this question for Richard, because he's way too modest. I think his sense of integrity, his caring about his employees, his hard work, also his vision, and that it's rare to see the vision plus the attention to details and the sense of integrity. That's Richard Kopelman for you. That's how he distinguished himself, and his performance is there to really show it. So
I'll add one more thing, because you just made me think of something that
yes.
I have a buddy of mine, Ron, we'll just say Ron, and he's a friend and a client. Ron will often say, says, you might not be the smartest accountant in the world, but you work the hardest. So
let's put it this way: you're one of the smartest, and you also work very hard. No, but that's so true about you, Richard, and we're very proud of you.
That's very kind of you. And as I always tell you, I'm just a bean counter in Atlanta.
A little bit more than a bean counter. So, Richard, we have a lot of students listening here, and also people who maybe in the industry, the CPA and public accounting or other industries, who really want to go to a higher level, even their own businesses, or in the business they're working for, or starting their own business, or have a small business and they want, what kind of advice, based on your almost 30 years of just really a lot of experiences, if you have narrowed it down to one or two advice for these people, what would they be? Again, that's another book that we're trying to summarize very quickly here.
Two pieces of advice.
Yes.
You know, show up and follow through, especially when it comes to growth. I think a lot of people, they, might show up once. And as we
Yeah.
know from sales, it's, the sales made on the eighth, at the eighth meeting. So you got to stick with it. Stick with opportunities, whatever they may be. It could be a company you want to go work for. It could be a client that you want to do business with. It could be someone you want to go out with. You got to continue to follow up and show up and follow up. So that would be that would be maybe one. And the other is build a great network. Friends, family, colleagues. Build a great network. Start early. It's like it's like interest on money in the bank. It just it compounds over time, and that's really really important that everybody does immediately when you can really start doing it when you're in school, because that's going to be your support system down the road, whatever you're doing. Looking for a new role. I just got called by a friend of mine. I haven't seen her, and we lived in the same apartment complex when I first moved to Atlanta 29 years ago. And we got married and moved to different parts of town. And I haven't seen her in maybe just in passing much, haven't talked to her much in the last 10 years. And she called me the other day and said, "Hey, I'm applying for a new position. And I see that the CEO of this company." Right. And before she even asked me, I already sent him a text message saying, "I really recommend her. And that would be a great hire for you." Right. So you need people in your corner.
I agree. I agree. Two great advice. Show up, do the work, and also build your network. I think that's great. And we also at the Muma kind of business, we really stress the networking skills. We teach a mandatory class where we certify students as career ready, and one aspect of that course is big aspect is networking, because as you said, Richard, that's really the assets that we all leverage on, and we have to build. That's a great advice. Let's take a question from Twitter. All right. In your opinion, what is the key to building successful and lasting relationships with your clients? So they are here to stay, and they don't go anywhere. They don't share.
Yeah, and we have clients that are the families have been clients for 70 years, or almost 70 years. So what do I think the keys are to building those relationships? I think, first of all, bring them ideas. No one ever fired you for bringing them ideas. And if you're not bringing them ideas, somebody else is.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons, I was talking before about PPP and the PPP loans and employee retention credits. We started educating people the day those things were launched, because these government programs, we know if we weren't, someone else would be. So you gotta be bringing people ideas. I think that's really really key to the relationship. It's actually one of our fundamentals. So when we renamed the firm Aprio, we created 31 fundamentals of behavior, and one of them is building personal, meaningful relationships. So following through, always being, I hate to use the word honest, but always telling them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Clients sometimes don't get the hardcore reality, and so you got to tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, so that they can make the right decisions when they need to, and they need that information, and hiding it from them is just going to come back and bite you, and then never surprise them with an invoice they didn't expect.
Yeah.
And that's something we're working on actually this late summer, early fall. We're working on a whole pricing strategy that will change how we operate over the next 3 years, and so I think that's really key. I think too many professionals of all types send their clients left field invoices that they're not expecting, and it can really damage a relationship. You can build a relationship for 10 years and destroy it in a moment, right? So
That's so true.
so
I
high
like this
integrity,
invoicing. Yeah.
act with integrity is fundamental number one of our 31 fundamentals. So act with integrity, building the relationship. Walk in the client's shoes is another one of our fundamentals. So how would you want to be treated if you were sitting on the other side? And that's how you should treat the client.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice. Great advice. Thank you, Richard. We were talking earlier before we start the event on how the CPA-led businesses, and like any other business, really changing, and how data now and data analysis and analytics and predictive modeling and are taking more of a place in these services. And you just mentioned now how you're working on your pricing strategy and rethinking the pricing strategy that has to be rooted on data and facts and models. So would love to know a little bit your views on the importance of data and analytics and big data in general, in your industry, but also in general.
Yeah. So first of all, for our clients, it's important, right? So if we can do it for ourselves, we can do it for our clients. And if we think that way, we'll think that way with our clients and for our clients. And we'll be able to advise them on things that we've implemented for ourselves. And I'll throw in there machine learning and robotic process automation, RPA. All of those things are going to, in the next 5 years, 10 years at the most, radically change the CPA profession. And in fact, the CPA test, the CPA exam is going to be changed, I think, in 2 years. It's going to be changing to include more technology aspects, and you might not even be an accountant and be called a CPA in the future. So we'll see how that all turns out. I'm sure you guys are hearing about that at the university from the ASCPA. So so those are just important factoids. We have one of our strategies for our 2025 plan is to be a data-driven organization, and that we're making decisions based on data. And so part of my job is to really push back on the team when they come to me to make decisions, or they come to me with a decision they've made and it's not rooted in data. And I continue to push back to say, okay, that's great, show me the data. And that's really becoming an influence of everything, of how we spend our marketing dollars to how we promote and move people through the organization, and how we're serving clients. Automation is going to have a big impact, and that's part of why we're looking at pricing, because like most professional service organizations, a lot of what CPAs do is rooted in the billable hour.
Yep.
And if you automate the billable hour, how are you going to now charge fees to your clients in a different manner?
Yeah.
Because now you're changing the complexity of your business model. Every business has a financial model, and if now you change that financial model and you have more fixed costs and changing variable costs, then you need to really focus in on how are you going to translate that into pricing.
That's really interesting, Richard. I always tell my team my worst nightmare. I wake up one morning and we become the Kodak of the colleges of businesses, where we miss the boat. Everybody is investing in the future and we're still ingrained in the past. So what kind of advice you give our listeners today, so they are exactly doing what you're doing? I'm so pleased to hear machine learning RPAs, analytics. This is where the ball is going. This is exactly what all CPA firms. So, what kind of advice? What do you do to always keep reinventing yourselves, your services, your pricing structure, the way you do business, so that you don't become the Kodak of the CPA firms?
Yeah, and it's interesting because you could probably look around as I can within the business schools, and you can
Oh,
identify, because
many.
there are schools that we recruit less from today, and we're recruiting more from because of because they know where the ball's going, and they've already, like you, have implemented programs like citizen data science, right? So
Yes.
my advice to young people, and I gave this to my son who just graduated, who's just took and passed the first part of the CPA exam, and now he's got 3 more to go. Is you need to understand data. So if you haven't, I really think it's important that you go to a citizen data science program. You've got one there at USF. Get
Thank you.
certified. Learn. And some people aren't technical. I think it's important though that everybody does learn some technical aspects of of software usage and tools usage, and in order around data manipulation, whether that's a Power BI or some other tool, that you have some familiarity of what's possible. You don't have to be able to do it. You got to know what's possible so that you can ask
Exactly.
other people to do it. So knowing what's possible, I think, is really important around data, and data structure, and so that's my answer. I think that's what I would do. And I'll add one thing, and that is everything. At least my viewpoint is that a lot of things. This is one of them that starts with the government, military, and then works its way down into corporate America, and it starts at the Fortune, 500, and works its way down into middle market. So depending on where you are in that stack, you may have more exposure to this than others. If you're in the smaller, what I'll call small to medium sized business environment, look at what's happening upstream, because it's all going to trickle down. And there's a lot to
Absolutely.
be learned by and from these larger companies or friends that you have that work in larger companies about what they're doing, especially at financial institutions, large manufacturing companies, global companies, large retail companies. They all have data strategies that they've been working on for 10 years.
Absolutely, Richard. And we made a decision almost 9 years ago to make data and analytics and machine learning and predictive modeling our area of distinctiveness and strategic emphasis. One last question. Speaking of integrity, can you tell us about a time when you had to bounce back from a significant mistake or failure?
Oh, wow. Gosh, plenty of them. um, Plenty of them. I'll tell you a great one. So we did a deal in November of last year. We did an acquisition, and it just didn't work. It was a small deal. It was a tuck-in new service line to an existing segment that we have, and the it just for whatever reason didn't work. And one of our fundamentals is blameless problem solving.
I like that. I like that.
So we're not sitting in a room going, well, who screwed this up? We're
Yeah.
like, okay, we got this
It doesn't
problem.
matter.
What are we going to do about it? It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
That's exactly
great.
right.
Yeah.
And I got the team got me on the phone, and and I said, so what do you guys want to do? And they wanted to tell me a whole story. And I'm like, guys, I really don't want to know the story because we're already here, and we're blameless problem solving this morning.
Blameless.
So what do you guys want to do? And they said, all right, this is what we want to do. And I said, that's fine, but we need to make sure that it's done in a financially neutral way. And we can't just cut the head off the snake and let the snake, flop around, wiggle around for the next month. So we came up with a plan and a strategy, and everybody's like, you know what, this is great. We're on board, and they went and they executed it. And our board gets together once a month, and I told them what we were doing, and one of the board members like, well, how much money are we going to lose? I said, no, we're making money, not much, but we're making a little money on the deal, and and everybody got what they wanted out of it at the end of the day, and we moved on. In fact, I did it from where I'm sitting right now. I called the guy and said, we need to get divorced.
Okay.
So
I love the blameless problem solving. Richard, I couldn't believe it. Time is up. It went by so fast.
That's because you're a great moderator.
No, because you're a great leader. That's why you make it so easy. I on behalf of everyone at the Muma Conro Business and all our friends who tuned in today, thank you, Richard, really, from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for your leadership. And we're just so proud of you. And please keep in touch. We would love to see you again, Richard. Thank you.
Will do. Go Brahma Bulls. Thank you.
All right. Go Bulls. Thanks again. Thank you. Thanks. And